It was July 2023, and the Galveston shore sparkled under a relentless Texas sun. The air was thick with salt and the sizzle of grilled food from a nearby beachside bar. Gulls wheeled overhead, their cries mingling with the laughter of children splashing in the surf. For me, Eleanor Ramirez, it was a rare moment of hope. 2 years had passed since my husband, Carlos, died after 54 years of marriage. His absence left a void that seemed impossible to fill, and my 3 children, David, Elena, and Marco, had grown distant, their visits rare and strained. So when they suggested a family beach day, I felt a spark of joy I hadn't known in years. Maybe, I thought, this was a chance to rebuild. We set up under a wide blue umbrella, the kind that promises shade but never quite delivers. David, my eldest at 54, hauled chairs and towels with his usual efficiency, his broad shoulders and confident stride a reminder of the boy who once carried my groceries. Elena, 51, arranged an array of gourmet snacks, artfully sliced fruits, imported cheeses, and crackers that looked too perfect to eat. Marco, the youngest at 47, brought only his restless energy, flitting between conversations with a grin that never quite reached his eyes. For a moment, as we sat together, I felt whole again. Their voices wove stories of work, plans, and fleeting dreams, and I soaked it in, believing we were knitting our family back together. Then my phone buzzed. An unknown number flashed on the screen. I almost ignored it. Spam calls were common, but something, perhaps instinct, urged me to look. The words stole my breath. Leave quietly. Do not tell your children. Your life depends on it. The world tilted. The sun dimmed, the waves hushed, and even the gulls seemed to vanish. I glanced at my children, still laughing over some trivial story, but their voices now sounded sharp, rehearsed. My heart pounded, a drumbeat of dread. Another text arrived. Red car. Parking lot. Trust me. Fear surged through me, cold and sharp. I'd always trusted my instincts, and they were screaming now. I set down my lemonade, forcing a weak smile. I feel a little dizzy, I said, pressing a hand to my temple. Too much sun. I'll take a short walk. David stood immediately. Want me to come, Mom? No, I said, masking my terror. Just a few steps. I'll be fine. With that, I began the walk that would unravel my life. The sand burned beneath my feet as I crossed the beach, each step a performance to hide my fear. The parking lot shimmered under the brutal heat, rows of cars baking in silence. Then I saw it, a red sedan idling in the far corner. A young woman stood beside it, her brown hair pulled into a tight ponytail, her eyes scanning the beach with nervous intensity. When she saw me, relief flooded her face. "Lucia," I whispered, recognizing her instantly. Lucia Torres had been a nanny for David's children years ago, later taking cleaning jobs to support herself and her son, Mateo. She was always polite, hard-working, discreet. But why was she here? "Mrs. Ramirez," she said, her voice trembling as she waved me closer. "Thank God you came. Please, get in the car. We don't have much time." Confused but driven by her urgency, I slid into the passenger seat. She locked the doors and pulled out her phone with shaking hands. "I know this sounds insane," she said, "but your life is in danger. Your children, they're planning something terrible." The words hit like a tidal wave. "What are you talking about, Lucia?" She thrust her phone toward me. On the screen was a photo of a document, my signature bold at the bottom. "I found this yesterday while cleaning David's office," she said. "You see that date? Last week, at his barbecue. He told you it was for insurance." I stared at the page. It wasn't insurance. It was an authorization for a bank transfer. $920,000, my life savings. "I never—" My voice broke as I tried to recall that afternoon. The laughter, the wine, the strange drowsiness. Lucia swiped to another photo, a power of attorney giving David control over my assets. Then a draft of a will, erasing the charitable donations Carlos and I had planned, leaving everything to my 3 children. My hands shook. This can't be real. It is, Lucia said, tears in her eyes. And it's only the beginning. She swiped to a grainy audio recording. David's voice, unmistakable, cold with panic. Raphael, give us more time. Another voice, sharp and menacing, replied, Time is what you don't have. $370,000 by Thursday. No excuses. Or the corrections begin. My stomach churned. Corrections. Raphael Cruz, Lucia said, her voice low. They call him the Razor. He runs illegal loans in Houston's East End. When he says corrections, he means violence, broken bones, burned cars, people disappearing. I swallowed hard. My children owe him money? She nodded. David took $150,000. Elena, $120,000. Marco, $100,000. With interest, it's $370,000. Their salaries can't cover it. They've been drowning for months, hiding it with lavish gifts and fake stability. The pieces clicked into place. Elena's expensive snacks, David's new watch, the whispers that stopped when I entered a room. I'd mistaken extravagance for success. It was all a lie. Lucia's voice dropped to a whisper. They tricked you into signing those documents, but the banks flagged the transfers. They need you alive, in person, to authorize anything over $100,000. And if you don't, she didn't finish. She didn't need to. Images flashed in my mind, a misplaced rug, a glass of wine pressed into my hand, my staircase waiting like a trap. They're planning to kill me, I whispered, the words bitter as poison. Lucia nodded, her eyes shining with loyalty. That's why I couldn't stay silent. I went to the police last night. An inspector is waiting for you now. The drive to Houston blurred past. Billboards, refineries, neighborhoods I no longer recognized. At the downtown police station, the air was cold and sterile, buzzing with fluorescent light. Inspector Daniel Foster greeted me, his tall frame and crisp uniform radiating authority, his dark eyes gentle yet focused. Mrs. Ramirez, he said, I'm in charge of this case. I sat across from his desk, Lucia beside me, and recounted the barbecue, the papers, the drowsiness. He listened, scribbling notes, asking precise questions. Based on Ms. Torres's evidence and your statement, he said, we have grounds for forensic testing. May we take blood and hair samples? I agreed, barely feeling the needle sting compared to the ache in my chest. The results came quickly. Positive for low-razepam metabolites and citralam, a synthetic compound causing confusion and memory loss, Foster read. You ingested both within the last week. Proof. My children had drugged me. Here's the plan, Foster said. We have warrants to search their homes and freeze their accounts. But we need recorded admissions. Tonight, at David's house, you'll wear recording devices. They'll try to persuade you to release your savings. That's when they'll reveal their intentions. Fear gripped me, but Lucia's courage steadied my resolve. If this stops them, I said, I'll do it. At David's house, the officers equipped me with discreet devices, a button microphone sewn into my blouse, a pen with a silent alarm, and glasses with a micro-camera streaming to a surveillance van. You're not alone, Foster assured me. We'll be 2 blocks away, watching every second. Lucia drove me to David's 2-story brick home in a quiet Houston suburb. The porch light glowed, but it felt like a stage for a final act. David greeted me with a hug that now felt suffocating. Mom, thank God. We were so worried when you disappeared from the beach. I clung to the alibi. Lucia found me in the parking lot. I felt dizzy. She thought I should rest here. Inside, The house smelled of garlic and herbs, candles flickering on the table. Elena kissed my cheek, her tenderness forced. Marco lounged on the sofa, his grin masking something darker. They moved quickly to their pitch. "Mom," David began, "we think it's time to simplify your finances. A joint account would help us handle the paperwork." Elena nodded. "You wouldn't have to worry about anything." I played confused. "Wouldn't that mean I'd lose control of my money?" "Not at all," David said smoothly. "It's for emergencies. What if you felt dizzy again?" I sipped water Lucia handed me, watching their faces. "I've been worried about documents I signed last week. I can't remember what they were." Their glances betrayed them. Elena laughed nervously. "Just health insurance, Mama." Marco leaned forward. "We've had financial setbacks. Temporary. A joint account would fix everything." I let the silence stretch, then dropped the bomb. $370,000. The room froze. David's face paled. "How do you know that number?" "Because it appeared in transactions with my signature," I said. "A signature I don't remember making." Elena gasped. Marco cursed. David collapsed into a chair. "Mom, we didn't want you to find out like this. We owe Rafael Cruz, the razor. He's not someone you ignore." Elena sobbed. "He gave us until Thursday. If we don't pay, he'll come for us, and maybe you." I leaned forward, heart pounding. "So you thought stealing my savings, drugging me, was the answer?" Silence. Then Elena's voice broke. "If you wouldn't cooperate, we had to make it look natural. A fall. Or medicine to stop your heart. You're 76. No one would question it." David's eyes hardened. "It was survival. Your inheritance would pay Rafael quickly." The betrayal cut like glass. "You all agreed to this?" They nodded, confessing every detail. Elena's sedatives, Marco's funeral plans, David's role in staging a peaceful death. Then David's gaze sharpened. "Why are you so calm? You sound rehearsed." His eyes fell on my blouse. "There's something here." He yanked the microphone free, his face twisting. "She's recording us." The trap collapsed, not on me, but on them. Doors crashed open, officers stormed in, shouting, "Police!" On the ground. David froze, clutching the mic. Elena backed into the wall. Marco was cuffed mid-lunge toward Lucia. Flashlights swept the room, radios crackled, and my children were restrained. Inspector Foster approached. "Mrs. Ramirez, are you hurt?" I shook my head, tears falling. "I'm all right." An officer called out, "Rafael Cruz is in custody with 2 associates. We found weapons and ledgers matching the debts." Relief and grief collided. My children's crimes were exposed, but my family was lost. By December 2023, the Harris County Courthouse loomed with cold marble and heavy air. The prosecutor, Angela Price, laid out the case. "This is a story of betrayal." The recordings played, Elena's sedatives, Marco's funeral plans, David's cold calculations. Rafael Cruz testified, confirming their debts and promises of quick money after my accident. The defense claimed desperation, but the evidence, forged documents, toxicology reports, financial records, was undeniable. Lucia's testimony sealed their fate. "I couldn't stay silent," she said. "Mrs. Ramirez would not be alive today." The jury deliberated for 3 hours. Guilty on all counts: conspiracy to commit murder, attempted fraud, forgery. Each received 15 years, no parole for 10. Cruz got 20. As my children were led away, David's hollow eyes met mine. "Mom, please." I had no words. Back in my quiet Houston home, memories of birthdays and laughter felt like another life. I grieved as if my children had died, replaying their confessions, the knife of betrayal twisting anew. But a spark of determination grew. Lucia visited with Matteo, her 9-year-old son. His drawing of a house with flowers broke and healed me at once. "You're like a grandma now," he whispered. I held him, tears soaking his hair. With my savings restored, I founded the Ramirez Center, a nonprofit in Houston's East End offering free legal advice and counseling for elderly victims of financial exploitation. Lucia managed outreach, Matteo did homework in the corner, and I funded his education with a trust. The center helped dozens, elders clutching forged documents or abandoned by family. Each success mended a piece of my spirit. Carlos would have been proud. On Christmas Eve 2023, I sat by my window, Houston glowing with holiday lights. In Carlos's old journal, I wrote of survival, Lucia's courage, Matteo's laughter, and a new family born not of blood but of loyalty. Betrayal nearly destroyed me, but it revealed a truth. Wealth means nothing if it costs a life, but everything when it saves one. That was my legacy.